Our perception, how we see the world, how we see things, needs constant adjustment. But see what the Lord did to help me. Isaiah chapter 6. So I just need to show you, and then I'll tell you what he told me, so that we're all growing in this journey. In the year that King Uzziah died, this was a bad time for Israel, and it was also a bad time for the prophet that was writing, because he was related to the man that died. In that season that Uzziah died, I also saw the Lord sitting upon his throne, high and lifted up, and his strength filled the temple. His glory filled the temple. Now, can you imagine why you're on earth, seeing all the troubles and all the wahala, like the kind of things going on in Nigeria now? Everywhere you turn, any news you're getting from any part, problems. And then these are the kind of things I'm discussing with the Lord in prayer. Give me strategy, better strategy, how we are to engage, starting with the young people, even the political class. What do we do? What exactly should we do at this time? I don't want to appear on the pulpit. I don't want to be in any program and let God's economy, just 5 minutes wasted. I don't want to appear in any service. I don't want to be party to that. This next 10 years is sacred to me. Every day that God wakes me up, I'm alive. I want to be part of something that is advancing his cause. I don't want to be in a program or in a meeting where God's time is being wasted. I don't want to be I'm not part of the world system and whatever they are doing, including when men bring it to church. I'm not part of that. I want to, at every point in time, to have the divine perspective to issues. And then the problem is, under the cloud, it's very hard to see that. You have to be lifted up above the clouds. You have to be lifted up above it. That's what revelation, visions, and supernatural illumination does. I thank you, the children. No time to say thanks to all the people. I heard when you were praying, I don't know whether you prayed for me or whatever, you talked about a man of vision, a person that is able to see beyond. That's what this does. So when this man was helped to rise above the clouds, okay, the Lord said I should explain that. You know how it looks like there is a thick cloud, dark cloud, it is rainy, wind is blowing, and everybody knows it's going to rain. Everywhere it goes dark. You don't see the bright sunlight anymore. All you need to do is enter an aircraft. Let the aircraft take a little run and take off. When you fly above, do you know what you see? Bright sunlight. It is your positioning that is confusing you. You think that's how reality is. So our perception needs constant adjustment. That's what the Bible calls renewing your mind. Don't ever let your perception become negative, clogged up with world affairs. There is always in the midst of that a bright sunlight, a divine perspective. So the Lord said to me, one of the reasons we gave you the project of the restoration of the tabernacle of David is that at every time you must be in that program that is bringing hope, that is still restoring, that is showing the sunlight, that in the midst of all of that, people can see that there is something different. Never you shut down the light that everybody now sees gloom and doom. In the midst of the darkness of the last days, always, at every time, gain my perspective, and when you do, you will always be a shining light in the midst of all. Because the world needs hope. The world needs direction. The world needs light. That's why Jesus made us the light of the world. When everywhere goes completely dark, the action, the behaviors of people is different. A whole country can go into war because nobody is able to see hope and see a future anymore. A whole country. So Isaiah was lifted up by the power of revelation. The power of the Holy Spirit lifted him in revelation. And when he floated like the aircraft above the clouds, those of you that have flown know what I'm talking about. When it's raining and you just take off above, it's so different. You are wondering what is going on. All that dark cloud is now below you. And I'm talking to all of us all over the world, not only to Nigerians, because we're in the last days, and the Bible says gross darkness shall cover the earth. You have to constantly adjust your perspective to make sure that in every situation you are gaining God's divine perspective, seeing things, seeing the world the way God sees it, making sure that your words and your testimonies are aligned to what God is saying, not the circumstances you see around you. A moment you join the cloud to talk the circumstance, you lose your cutting edge. You are no more a solution. You are part of the darkness. That's what a lot of believers are doing with social media. And they've left the good news. They are now having jazz or bad news. They've left the dispensing of hope and faith and love. They are now dispensers of hate, of hopelessness and despair. And when those three cardinal virtues are removed from any life, from any family, from any marriage, from any business, from any society, that society caves in. If those three vanish in a family, hope vanishes, trust vanishes, love vanishes, the marriage caves in. And you know what happens? When you are now given an opportunity after everything is destroyed to gain the other perspective, you regret all the destruction that happened because you didn't see well. Nigerians are trying to plunge Nigeria into war and tribal crisis and religious crisis because we are blinded by certain things. And many people who are in the church who should be given the different narrative, God's own narrative, are busy helping to give the enemy's narrative. The gospel is what saves individuals, but it's also what the same power that saves society. When we withdraw it, we have withdrawn light. Okay, so here is what the Lord did to me. So he gave me that elevation, gave me that push, and pushed me above the cloud and allowed me to see. And this is what Isaiah saw, verse 2. And above the throne stood the seraphims. Each one has 6 wings. With 2 they covered their face, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they did fly. I'll see what they were doing, verse 3. And one cried to another, saying, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God of hosts. The whole earth is full of what? His God. Do you see how God sees the earth? Do you see how he sees Nigeria? All his purpose concerning Nigeria still stands. It's you people that are running up and down. You want to scatter the whole place, bomb the whole place, divide it. God still has the plan he has for this nation. Nothing has changed. The whole earth is full of his glory. Where somebody is saying, Uzziah died, we are finished, everything has gone haywire, economy has gone down. God said, you are not seeing well. He's still saying, this is the giant of Africa. He's still saying this is one of the most powerful nations that he's going to use in these last days. He's still saying Nigerians value what you have, because no other nation will give you what I have given you, says the Lord. America won't give you what I've put here. You have not even scratched 1% of the treasure I put in your nation. Not the treasure I put in your soil, not the treasure I put in the human vessels. He said, history of the world going forward will, to a major degree, be written by men and women from this country and men and women from the continent of Africa. Why are you shutting down thinking everything is over when your destiny is just starting out of the womb? Now that I've been allowed to see on the other end, I can speak to you prophetically. Because a prophet has nothing to offer people until you have stood in the counsel of God. You are not supposed to tell people your own opinion. You are not supposed to report what other people are saying. No. A prophet has the other world perspective. Is somebody hearing what I'm saying? And this is the reason many people have lost their prayer force, their prayer power. There are no more intercessors because they have now given up to despair. This is the reason many people are no more worshippers. I heard you, one of you, talking this morning when you had met me. You were in confusion. You were thinking, who knows, he could have gone secular, then played Dada and be singing in Last Shrine or someplace. And then they will tell him, you have to come and meet some A's and Y for your music to sell. And the one that started as a believer will go. Because that's what happens when that dark cloud covers the eyes. The behavior of people becomes negative. When people are operating from fear, they behave irrational. When people are operating from despair, they behave like everything is finishing now. You know, did you see how our youth lost control the second part of the answers? Did you see how the whole nation almost burned down? That's how normal people were going to loot ShopRites, shops, supermarkets. I met a woman in Lagos that carried her children, 4 children, to go and loot another man's business. And the woman is not poor. She has a business own. People start behaving irrational. At one moment of darkness in Rwanda, people took knives and killed 1 million of their neighbors. Just because that rain cloud blocked everybody's eyes, nobody could see. God said, I should talk to Nigeria, I should talk to his church, I should talk to you this morning. He asked me to do this. I should not pray any prayer. I should do this because he needs to get us on his side, working in partnership with him in rebuilding, in restoring, not in tearing down. It is possible to be on the pulpit and be recruited by the enemy. And the way Satan recruits you is by distorting your perception. The way you see everything becomes negative. And then the kind of things that come out of your mouth and your behavior changes. In John chapter 8:44, the Bible said the devil is a liar and the father of it. He is a master at distorting reality. If you leave him, he will sell to the whole 200 million Nigerians that their case is hopeless, that there is no way out. He will sell to us that we are a bastard nation, a rejected nation, a land that eats up its inhabitants. And then people will take laws into their hand and they will do whatever they have to do, because when hopelessness prevails, people resort to animalistic instinct for survival. They behave like animals. The guy crossed over where he was here mourning, complaining, to see worship going on, what they're saying is holy, holy. God is still the same. He has not changed. He's still the same faithful God. And what are they saying? When they finish talking about God's nature, God's character, He's still a covenant-keeping God. He's still faithful. He's still trustworthy. He has not changed one bit. When they finish exalting Him and His character that is unchanging, they looked on the earth. What they said about the earth. The man was expecting him to see, yeah, that is where the problem is. Trouble on earth. Everything is messed up. No. You know what he said? The whole earth. The whole earth. The whole earth is full of your glory. You are Alpha and Omega. We worship you, our God. You are worthy to be praised. Lives are going to be changed all over the world, all over, wherever you may be watching, not only people that are here. You are Alpha and Omega. We worship you, our God. You are worthy to be praised. We give you all the glory. We worship you, our God. You are worthy to be praised. We give you worship you, our God. You are worthy to be praised. Draw on the screen what you see me do. What I'm doing is to cover as much as possible the whole space of this paper with a rectangle, a giant rectangle. That is the earth covered with the glory of God. That's Nigeria. And that's also your life. There are 4 levels of perception or worldview. But watch. At the middle here is a tiny square. It's called the black dots, the black spots. Black spot. It's in the middle here. Very tiny square. I wish you can just draw one giant rectangle. And then in the middle, you create that dark spot, the black spot. The big one is filled with light. In future, when you do it, make it white. But the tiny one is the part still covered with darkness. The real tiny thing is not even as big as this one he drew. It's smaller than that. Perception is at 4 levels. One is self-perception, how you see yourself. Is that how God sees you? Level 2 is social perception, how people now see you. But people see you based on how you see yourself first. And if how people are looking at you is not how God looks at you, you don't take that. It's your job to correct it. The 3rd level is national perception, how a whole people in a society see themselves. It can be so distorted, just like personal perception can be so distorted that the man has completely, and that is what is responsible for his behavior. Until you know who you are, you will not become that person. If you have the wrong picture, you will be having the wrong product. Then from national perception, you go to global perception. See how they insult us, treat Nigerians is the way Nigerians project Nigeria. And how the national perception is shaped by a handful of people. Watch now. Pastor Lenwo, we have a few problems. That's this black spot. We have insecurity. We have corruption is in the black spot. We have some areas of infrastructural problems and the development is in the black spot. We have unemployment is in the black spot. But do you know what the big white spot is? All of the advantages, the resources, the plan and purpose of God, the resources he buried in the ground, resources he buried in the human capital, the different opportunities and capacities he put in this nation, all the things he put to take us to where we are supposed to be. And what the devil does is that he takes that black spot, Pastor Lenwo, in this your paper, he will take it, focus your whole eye on it, then he start expanding to the north. It will start expanding to the south. It will start expanding to the east. It will start expanding to the west. And it will expand. You can imagine this black thing now. Expanding, keep it expanding, expand it until it covers all the white spots. At that moment, what you now have is hopelessness, despair, and at that moment, human beings turn to animals. That's what happened to Rwanda. That's where the devil is trying to push Nigeria, because the church that should be correcting the perception of the nation, giving the nation the correct narrative, has joined. Has joined the enemy. And how the enemy recruits God's people to join him? By distorting their own perception. How did he recruit Adam and Eve in the garden and turn them to his allies? He just distorted that woman's perception and threw her husband. So, and this is where he is headed. We lose sight of all our advantages. We lose sight, even people that have become multi-millionaires, and it's this country that gave you the opportunity. People that have been educated to her, is this country that gave you the opportunity. You are doing ministry, is this country that gave you the opportunity. That freedom of worship, is this country that gave you the opportunity. That you are who you are for your tribe, is this country that gave you the opportunity. You want to experience being a fugitive in another man's land, being a slave and a wanderer. The devil sees your whole potential. He fears what you are going to become, so he takes your eyes away and focuses it on one spot. Do you know only one tree in the whole garden that has poison in it? Of all the millions of trees, the animals, the beauty of creation that God created, the whole garden filled with his glory. These people were having direct access to God. They were even the envy of angels. He now turned their eye on just one. That one thing that is not working in your life, he will take it. And he will blow it. You will now end up forgetting. Married women leave their marriages for this. It might be one thing. Nobody has it all. America doesn't have it all. Not even Israel has gotten it all. Japan doesn't have it all. Africa is God's next frontier. Of course, let me say it right. Africa is the now frontier. I give you all the we worship you alone. You are worthy to be praised. You see, when your perspective is corrected and you get hold of reality again, you become a worshiper all over again. You become an intercessor. You see that God is not failing, that God is actually working behind the scene, working out his plans and purposes. You see that he's still answering prayer. You see that you are a project under construction. Can I hear somebody say? Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters listening to me, it doesn't matter where you are listening. The man you are looking at here, you came to celebrate, went to chemistry lab in University of Nigeria and stole hydrogen cyanide, took it to the sewage dump. UNN has a sewage. All the excretors from the whole school collects at a particular place, and the place is bushy and farm. Went there, and there were vultures and others, and opened it, prayed, and drank it to drink it. Why? Persecution at home, and then I ran into some other problems also in school, trying to be used of God among the students. And I told God, I've tried. I know it's not right to take one's life, but forgive me, please. Don't let me go to hell. I did this not just as a believer, as a leader among student fellowships. And then I lifted it to pour it, and the hand hit me, and the bottle fell on the ground, and the thing poured out. And then I shouted. I thought it was an angel, and truly it has to be an angel. I said, why have you come to find me here? Leave me. If there anything you can bless out of the work I have done here in this school, reward me for that one in eternity. Just don't send me to hell. And I bent down to take it, even though it has poured at least little left inside, to take it. And then this time a shout, and I thought it was a girl, a student. I started preaching to her. What are you doing in the bush like this? Do you know how dangerous this place is? If they raped you, what are you doing here? He said, you, what are you doing here? I wanted to say I came to pray, but she caught me red-handed. He said, you, that we all envy. You are trying to take your life. For what purpose? You that is the envy of this whole school. Just two small things, the devil blew it out of proportion. Do you know that same, my father gave his life to Christ, my mom gave her life to Christ, the whole family gave their life to Christ. The same thing. Just before the day breaks, the devil make it very dark. This is what he's doing, trying to do to Nigeria. This is what he's trying to do to a whole nation. Do you know how national perception comes about? A handful of people, sometimes it's one man, sometimes it's just a few people, whose heart is poisoned. It might be poisoned with hate. It might be poisoned with religious bigotry. It might be poisoned with terrorism. It might be poisoned for offense. It might be poisoned with what happened in the last election. They want to get back either at the other political party or either at the other government, or some people some are poisoned with tribalism. Some are poisoned with jealousy. Some other people some are poisoned with whatever purpose. Envy, strife, hatred, all can never produce anything good. And this handful, instead of keeping their own worldview to themselves, they will start spreading it. The problem of today's world is that many years ago, even when you try to spread it, it can be contained. It will only affect a few people and remain contained, and finally you can come and cut it out like cancer. But today we have something called the media, technology. Before, if you want the whole world to listen to you, you need to get on platforms like CNN, Time Magazine, and so on. And 1 second on CNN can wipe out your annual profits. So not many people can go there. But today, media is free. All you have to buy is data. It's now a new media, social media. So one man with poison can poison a whole society. A few people whose minds are poisoned can poison the whole social system. The speed now at which darkness can spread globally is so fast because of technology. But the speed with which the gospel and light and hope and faith and values can spread is so fast because of technology. The problem is that the armors, the warriors of light are surrendering to the armories of darkness. And they're not just surrendering, they're joining them. A few people start this. With the help of media, they'll poison a large segment. And when the large segment start voicing out that poison from their soul, they poison the global society. And the global society treats all of you like criminals. All of you are 419. All of you. You wonder why, whether it's your president, nobody has any regard for you. But it is not them that shape their perception. It is us that shape how they see us, and we can change how they see us by changing how we see ourselves. And you change how you see yourself by finding out what the reality is, what the true north is, how God actually sees you. I'm begging all the ministers of the gospel in Nigeria. I'm begging all of God's children in Nigeria, including the millions that have gone on social media and they are fighting against their commander-in-chief without even knowing, to drop the weapons of darkness and embrace light one more time. Your message must be a message of hope. It must be a message that inspires faith. It must be a message that inspires love. It must be a message that inspires progress. It must be what people finish listening to, they see a future. It must be a message that inspires worship. It must be a message that inspires reconciliation. It must be a message of reconstruction, of rebuilding, of restoration. No matter how bad things had been. When it looked like the world had no light, God sent one light. He was born in a manger. He grew up among us, and then he began to speak. Because it's when you speak that you shine, and when you act accordingly, you shine the brightest.